different kind of chess traps.
Fried liver attack. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5, bishop c5, knight takes pawn f7, bishop takes f2, check. King takes bishop f2, knight takes e4, check. King e3, queen h4, knight takes rook h8, queen f4, check. King e2, queen f2, check. King d3, knight b4, check. King takes knight e4, queen f4, checkmate.
Top 5 England Gambit traps. Number 1. d4, e4, pawn takes pawn, knight c6, knight f6, queen e7, bishop f4, queen b4, check, bishop d2, queen takes pawn, bishop c3, bishop b4, queen d2, bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, queen c1, checkmate. Number 2. d4, e5, pawn takes pawn, bishop c5, knight f3, d6, pawn takes pawn, knight e7, pawn takes knight, bishop takes pawn f2, king takes bishop f2, queen takes queen d1, e3, queen takes pawn c2, check. Number 3. d4, e5, pawn takes pawn, knight c6, knight f6, queen e7, bishop f4, queen b4, check, queen d2, queen takes pawn b2, queen c3, bishop b4, queen takes bishop b4, knight takes queen b4. Number 4. d4, e5, pawn takes pawn, knight c6, knight f3, queen e7, bishop f4, queen b4, check, bishop d2, queen takes pawn b2, bishop c3, bishop b4, bishop takes bishop b4, knight takes bishop b4, knight d2, knight takes pawn c2, check, queen takes knight c2, queen takes queen c2. Number 5. d4, e5, knight f3, e4, knight d2, e3, pawn takes pawn e3, bishop d6, knight c3, queen h4, check, g3, queen takes pawn g3, check, pawn takes queen g3, bishop takes pawn g3, checkmate.
The Re-Lopez Opening, Traps Part 3. e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, short castle, knight takes pawn e4, d5, b5, bishop b3, d5, Pawn takes e5. Bishop e6. c3. Bishop e7. Rook e1. Short castle. Knight d4. Queen d7. Knight takes bishop e6. Number 2. e4. e5. Knight f3. Knight c6. Bishop b5. a6. Bishop a4. Knight f6. Knight c3. Bishop c5. Knight takes pawn e5. Knight takes knight e5. d5. Bishop b4. Pawn takes knight e5. Knight takes pawn e4. Queen d4. Knight takes knight c3. Pawn takes knight c3. Bishop a5. Bishop a3. b6. e6. Queen f6. Bishop takes pawn d7. King d8. Bishop c6, check. Queen takes queen d4. e7, checkmate.